to lesson 24 of phonics. Again, I'm sure you are sick and tired of me telling you about the flashcards, but it's worth it. It's really worth it. If your child can read all of this, fantastic. Again, encourage them to write it so that they become familiar with it when in their sentences. If they write the sentence and they're not spelling these words correctly, then at least you know where you need to focus your teaching on. Okay, it's very important that they know these words. When they go into year one, there'll be more words for them to get familiar with. So it's easier if you make sure that they're solid in this before they move into year one. Try and expose them to it as often as possible. I can't stress enough how important it is for you to keep going and doing this. Do not use the video as a way of leaving your child to do it. Try and talk them through because they're still going to need your support. Okay, so for each stage, talk to them about it, get them to do work on it. So do not let them watch it and think, oh, it's finished. Try and use it as a learning tool. Okay, so again, these sounds. If your child knows how to do it, encourage them to write it. So you get that you say each sounds about 3 or 6, let them write it, and then leave it as that. So the focus at the moment is to look at it. Most of them know all of this. So the focus now is can they write it when you say it. So that's where the focus is. So your child, you might say, write I. Okay? Write A. Write E. Write ow. Write write ear. So this is the bit where you need to work on their writing. So they can read it, now focus on the writing of these. Here again, with the sounds, just dictate the different sounds. It doesn't have to be specific ones, it's just random ones. So write me E. Sorry, write me E. Write me K, with a digraph of K. So write me write me and write me H. Okay, see if they can do that independently. Choose different ones on different days. Okay? And each time, if your child gets it wrong, try and encourage them to do the formation the right way around. So for this one, sometimes it looks like an E. So if he does, just encourage them to do around her face, down her hair, and give her a curl. And that's the formation that Read Write Ink has. So you can just tap into that. They've got nice rhymes for each letter. So then you can use that to help them with their formation. They know it that way, so you can use it as well. Here you've got the pseudo words as well as real words. So encourage them, tell them about the pseudo words. Okay, and then talk to them about the real words as well. Again, more exposure to their sounds. And write the words on flashcards or on just bits of paper. Let them underline where the diagraphs are so they can start seeing. So for this practice, write it on a piece of paper, give it to your child, let them find the digraphs or trigraphs and get them to read it after that. Again, after that, encourage them to use spelling fingers when they're writing these things. It's very important for them to use their spelling fingers because then it helps them to remember how many sounds there are in each word so that they will remember to write. So for this word here, encourage them to look for how many sounds there are that they need to write. They'll tell you, and then after that, make sure that they've got those sounds. So S, T, E, P. So they need to write 4 sounds and make sure you get them to check once they've done it. Okay? And here you've got the reading. You've got some tricky words in there. The slightly might be difficult tricky words in here. So these ones here, this one, encourage them to focus on that. I've underlined the digraphs in there, so just encourage them. If they know their tricky words, then these sentences will be very easy for them. If they're struggling, focus on the colour at a time. Okay? Let them get through this one before they get through this one. But even if they get this one and they're doing were there some chips. So if they're at the point where they're still saying the sounds, try and get them to the point where they're saying were there some chips at the zoo, so that you're building on the fluency of it. Again, we're going for fluency, fluency, fluency. Okay, that's where we're at the moment. And then you might choose one of those for a sentence. Again, you're dictating. So you're trying to get them to hold the sentence in their head. You choose a blue one, choose a blue one. So were there some chips at the zoo? Keep saying it to yourself or to them. Were there some chips at the zoo? Were. What's the first word? Were. Okay, write it. What's the next one? There. But obviously make sure you're not showing them that you're talking to them. You've got the sentence in your hand and you're dictating them. So where, write it. There, write it. Okay, some, write it. Encourage them to have the tricky word maths in front of them. Or you can just make sure if you've done the flashcards, they have access to it so they can refer to that. So they can find it and it helps them. So if they can read it and they're able to write it, then that's, independence already. Okay, so try, like I said before, flashcards, flashcards, flashcards. It's worth it. Once you've done it once, you can carry on using it. Okay, so here, read, and then dictate a sentence to them. Okay, thank you. That's the end of lesson 24.